dear mother, father, I'm locked in this cage. On the side of the side of the myself.
What?
So I've been really listening to orbit culture for the last couple days. You know, trying to get my head in orbit around this story.
Yeah.
No, they're just really good. My name is Fred Stewart, and welcome to Haunts, Graves, and Omens. With me, as always, without fucking that up, is my lovely co-host.
It's me. It's Taylor. Hi.
Hi, Tay.
Hi.
My days are all thrown around, so my brain's like mashed potatoes.
That's a mood.
And with us, running cameras and sound, is me. Marty's not really here with us very much anymore. So if you want a job, it doesn't pay. If you want to come hang with us once a week, you can.
Yeah.
Taylor has some news stories. Tay, hit me with it.
All right. So we got two stories that I found fun.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is that TSA discovers a bag with small snakes in passengers' pants.
I know about that, baby. You know what I'm saying? You know what the fuck I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. All right.
You taking corn snakes on the plane now?
Something like that.
Yeah, so apparently airport security officers in Miami's just found a bag of snakes hidden in a man's pants.
That's not the first time we've had that on HGO where we talked about snakes being in a man's pants.
Which is just,
And then this story
weird.
is how a man can't keep his snake in his pants. You know? It's funny how that works. I do have one story that comes from AP News that I just wanted to briefly talk about. I just thought it was kind of funny. Is cicadas are so noisy in a South Carolina county that residents are calling the police.
Yeah.
This comes from Newberry, South Carolina. Emerging cicadas are so loud in one South Carolina county that residents are calling the sheriff's office asking why they can hear sirens or a loud roar.
Is bugs.
Thousands, if not millions of bugs.
Is a lot of bugs.
Yeah, the Newberry County Sheriff's Office sent out a message on Facebook on Tuesday letting people know that the whining sound is the male cicadas singing to attract mates after more than a decade of being dormant. Been sleeping for 10 years. Over 10 years.
That's wild.
Just been like, fucking. And then they're just back. And they're like, I'm gonna fuck.
I kind of want to sleep for that long.
Over 10 years?
Just a little nap.
Dude, you'd wake up, dude, and you'd feel like hell.
Probably.
That's what they say about comas, dude.
And then I'd take another 10-year nap.
Wake
Man,
me
I feel
up in
awful.
another 10 years.
I feel awful. I'm going to take another nap.
It's like time traveling, dude. Imagine.
Yeah.
You know, dude, you just like you go to bed. And you wake up and like we've had over 2 presidents since you've been here.
So
It's like, whoa, dude. We're on a 3rd president? Yeah, it's the robot of John F. Kennedy.
I lied. We have 2 other stories that we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
One
I
is
love
just
this one.
a fun, cute little story. Pandas at a Chinese zoo are actually just chow chows in disguise. They painted some chow chows and said, "These are pandas." Absolutely. Yeah. They're not pandas. They are just little dogs hanging out in a zoo.
And what's really funny about that is
there's a photo even.
There, I can see if I can even focus. Oh, there it is. Yeah, little chow chow. Might need to turn down your brightness a little bit, but yeah, you can.
I wasn't even paying attention.
Look at that.
That's better. That is a chow chow. That is not a panda.
I like how we just show the camera instead of putting it up on screen. That's the budget of this show. We could easily just pull it up on screen. I actually have a keybind right here that I press and then it puts it up on screen.
Yeah.
But we don't ever think that far.
Yeah, we never planned that.
It is really funny though about that is the the zoo is now getting like increased traffic to go and see these chow chows. which is very funny. People know that they're not pandas, but they.
It's so weird that they were like, I think we can fool everyone.
Yeah, I think they just were like people were stupid, and then people were like, those are dogs, and then now the zoo is getting increased traffic because they're like, I want to see chow chows paint like pandas.
And the zoo is like, it fucking worked, didn't it?
I know. Well, if you read the story, it says the reason they did it is because they didn't have space to accommodate pandas, but they wanted pandas.
I mean, I can respect that.
Yeah, they were like, can't have pandas, but you can't have chow chows.
Painted like pandas.
Panda, died like pandas, and then just take them home,
Sounds like a solid plan.
and then you don't bring them to work, and you go, it's time to go to work, buddy, and then you just put them in enclosure, and like, that's a panda. So,
That's just weird doggy daycare.
yeah, yeah, that is weird doggy daycare. You're gonna see a serval and a bunch of other things. So,
Well, and I mean, to be fair, I mean, they're just hanging out. I assume probably by themselves, because like usually it's one animal in a big enclosure like that. So it's basically just doggy daycare.
it is basically doggy daycare.
It works.
I'm gonna bring in my dog, which is a fucking 8,000 pound or like a 1,500 pound grizzly bear. We're like, this is my newfie. So this story comes from Laval, Quebec, Canada, and it's a bit. It is it's trying to put it. I'll just read you the headline comes from AP News. Canadian family receives wrong body after father died on a Cuban vacation.
I heard about this.
Yeah, it's not great. So funerals for Faraj Allah Jaror were scheduled Sunday and Monday, and said his daughter Miriam Jaror had been desperately calling and emailing as many officials as again trying to find his body. Up to now, there was no answers. She said, "Where is my father? Where is my father? Where is he?" Jaror said that she was swimming with her 60-year-old father in the ocean near Varadero, Cuba, during a family vacation on March 22nd when he suddenly had a heart attack and died.
Jeez.
Which is crazy. Because there were no medical facilities, his body was covered and left on a beach chair in the hot sun for more than 8 hours until a car arrived to take it to Havana.
No. No.
What do you mean no?
No. Fucking 8 hours in the hot sun.
He's dead.
But
What?
no.
I don't think he's gonna care about a sunburn.
That's not what I'm worried about.
Oh, just like
Yeah,
so it's like the gases and everything.
Yeah, like no thanks.
It's funny, he looks better like that than he did when he was alive. No. No. So she said basically followed the directions given to her by the Canadian consulate and paid 10,000 Canadian dollars, which is $7,300 in the U.S., to have the body returned to the family. And then that's on top of getting, and then you have to get all the other stuff. However, the casket arrived late last week and contained the body of a Russian man who was at least 20 years younger than her father.
Do you think she got a refund on that? Because she was like, you gave me the wrong fucking man.
I don't know. Well, unlike her father, the body also had a full head of hair and tattoos. Duro said that the stranger's body had been sent to his country, but she and her family don't know where her father is. When Jarer contacted the Canadian consular authorities in Cuba, they blamed the company in the island that coordinates the return of the remains. Since then, she says that she has been emailing other government officials, including a member of the parliament, who agrees to reach out to Foreign Affairs Minister, was it Melanie Jolly? Basically just says, we're destroyed and this is awful. Duros described her father as an active man who didn't smoke or drink. The Syrian-born family man was always smiling, she said. And so far, the family has spent 25,000 Canadian dollars for funeral services that have been put on hold.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Jesus.
Yeah. Basically, they don't know where it is. They don't know where his body is. So,
I'd be pissed.
I have one suggestion. Okay? Hear me out. Did anyone check the beach chair?
That they left him on originally?
Yeah. That is correct.
I would hope he's not still there.
I don't know. I don't know where this other guy is.
Like, that's just wild to me. I feel like, I don't know, there was no, like, double checking that you've got the right person that you're...
It's because it's Cuba. Anyway, let's do a recap of last week, shall we? Oh, do you have one more?
I have one more.
Okay.
This one... A very serious criminal has been apprehended in Florida.
Oh, like a serial killer, like a mass murderer, a mass diddler, a mass... What?
Deputies chased down
Okay.
a loose goat in Florida County.
Man. Finally off the streets, huh?
Uh-huh.
Good job.
Yeah. So apparently this happened yesterday. Sheriff deputies in Florida went on a hoof pursuit of a goat on the loose and ended up rescuing a second goat as well from fence entanglement.
Why is there so many goats running around?
I wish I knew. So this happened in Marion County.
You didn't have to tell me this was happening in Marion County, Florida. I could have just guessed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so they capture this first goat about 5 minutes after chasing him, return the goat to the owner, and then receive a call that there's another goat who got self-entangled in a chain link fence nearby.
Can I just real quick read directly from the article from
Yes.
from UPI.com where it says, quote, Billy the Kid was feeling a bit bad that day and made a valiant effort to avoid them, the Post said. After about 5 minutes of comedic hoof pursuit, Deputy Hammonds apprehended the juvenile delinquent. Now that is fucking good comedic writing. All right. So what, they shoot the other one or what happened?
No, they
He's got a gun!
Deputy Hammonds was able to untangle the chain link fence and freed the goat, who was actually she had just recently had babies.
Oh.
And then got herself stuck in the fence, as goats do.
Yeah, that's the natural cycle of goats, actually. If you actually look at like in the wild how goats were before they were domesticated like this, what they would do is, they would have their babies and then they would go off into the forest and build themselves a chain link fence
And then get stuck in it.
Yeah, and then they would strangle themselves in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
But makes it really hard for Rocky Mountain goats because they have to build those on those those like 70, 80 degree angles, You know how hard it is to build a fence on that? It's hard. Gotta get a bunch of levels, dude. Gotta get permits and shit. It's crazy.
But yeah, no, they got her free and just sent her back on her way.
That's good.
Yeah. I don't know why there was a goat on the loose and then another one stuck on a fence literally within 5 minutes of each other, but
Because it's Marion County, Florida.
and it's goats. Goats will do anything.
Goats will do anything, that's true. While you're getting the story pulled up, I'm going to give everybody a recap. So last week, we started on part 1 of David Huggins. We talked about how in his early life, he was visited by a being known as... Crescent, thank you. And Crescent effectively saved his life with the helps of other Greys multiple times. And over the years, he was abducted several times. I think it was like over 20 times by the time he was 17.
Yeah.
And then when he started getting into his 20s and so on, he started having relations. He started fucking this alien. He started boning this alien. And I thought it was a fantastic bit until his girlfriend woke up and there's grays surrounding her bed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so this is a thing that has happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So he's banging him. And when we finished part 1, where were we at? What was the context of that? I think he just got done piping it down in the woods.
Well, so, we kind of talked about David had dated, quite a few people.
Mhm.
Never really worked out.
Yeah.
just kind of didn't really work with anyone, with any human woman, because he was in a relationship with an alien. That's kind of where we left off.
Okay, so he was piping down an alien in the woods. That's when he woke up and stuff, and he had his pants down, and he was like, "Oh, what happened? I'm gonna go swimming."
That was a little bit before the aliens surrounding Ethel's bed.
Yeah. So now we're gonna jump back into part 2 of David Huggins and see what happens for the other 40 years of his life where he's visited by these beings. Taylor, take it away.
So for at least 5 years, David went through these like dreamlike visitations with Crescent. She would visit him like 2-3 times a week.
Yep.
One night, David decided, I'm gonna get her flowers.
You know, dude, listen, gotta raise her up a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit.
You know.
So he goes and he gets her flowers. And his thinking was, I'll get flowers for her, and if she takes them tonight, then I will know for sure she's real.
You know,
he's using
that's smart.
His brain.
Yeah, that's smart.
Right?
That is smart.
And then he said, if not, I'll use the flowers as a model for a painting.
Also smart. You know?
He has a plan and a backup plan.
You know, I can't keep selling these paintings of me fucking aliens in woods, so
I might as well
mix it up.
Flower.
You know, do flowers.
Yeah.
Maybe the flower vase in my ass as she puts it in. Perhaps. It's called art. Look it up. It's called art. All right.
I lost my spot because fucking Google Docs is awful. So he brings her flowers.
Yes.
And this leads to his 41st encounter with the visitors, these aliens. He got home, he placed the flowers on a bookcase and proceeded to say out loud, "These are for you," and then fell asleep.
These are for you. As he's doing that, he's unbuckling his pants. That's awesome.
So the next morning, he forgot about his purchase of the flowers, but before he left for classes, he passed the bookshelf and triggered a faint memory, and he couldn't remember of what. While at the school, he visited a studio where a water painting class was painting floral arrangements. As he watched his fellow peers, he soon remembered his own purchase of the flowers, and that as he left that morning, they were no longer there. Crescent took the flowers.
Crescent took the flowers. Are they dating?
If I leave you flowers, can I take you to the movies?
Do you want to go see Close Encounters of the Third Kind? What year is this? Would you maybe I don't know.
You want to make a movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
I don't know. Do you want to? I don't know. Do you want to maybe go to Zebulai 47 and we can just watch a star implode together?
Do you want to go to a Chinese zoo where they paint pandas? Or paint chow-chows like pandas?
No, I want to go to the one where they paint pandas like other animals.
Like chow-chows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want them to paint like zebras and shit. Or like tigers. It'd be awesome.
So on his way home, he realized that they were going to come back again tonight. So excitedly, he began to clean up his apartment, and including washing the dishes. He would later say, "It was like I was going to have a date. We weren't going to be going out, but as a date."
You know, sometimes a date at home is a date, you know?
Yeah, sometimes stay-at-home dates they're fun.
Yeah, dude. You know, like we've had stay-at-home dates before, you know, and with those dates, it's usually like, listen, okay, do you want to stay home? And then we just do a bunch of mushrooms and then watch TV. Do you want to do that? Does it sound like a date to you? That sounds like a date to me.
down.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
I mean, okay, so listen, I'm absolutely an introvert, so you just have to start with, do you want to stay home? Yes.
It's fair. Meanwhile, I want to be where the people are.
Yeah. No,
Except if they're holding knives. Then I don't really want to be where the people are.
It excludes a lot of downtown Portland.
It does.
Yeah, I'll stay home. I don't care. I'm not picky. So that night he noticed a bizarre object on the wall facing his bed. The object was about the size of a quarter, and David could feel a strange energy that filled his body. This peculiar energy seemed to alter his consciousness, even though he was alert and aware of himself and his surroundings. As he was trying to understand why he felt this way, he noticed that his apartment had become extremely quiet, seemingly unaffected by Manhattan's usually polluting sounds. He fixed his gaze, however, on the quarter-size object on the wall, but watched as the circular object began to grow, becoming larger and larger until it was notably see-through.
Oh, weird.
Yet what was on the other side was fucking spooky. So
was it a gray wearing a Halloween mask and he's like standing there? Am I scary?
I'm thinking of an alien wearing like an alien mask.
Oh man, it'd be crazy.
Like, I just think that would be.
He's wearing like one of those old
ridiculous.
man masks you get from Spirit of Halloween. And he's like, I am old. It's all fucked up. He's like, I am old. And it's like one big hole's cut out for his eye. Can you tell that I am a regular old man? They're like, it's a very fun costume. And he's like, haha, totally. Anyway, gonna jerk you off now. It's like, okay.
Great.
Thanks.
So he didn't really have time to think about what was on the other side when he noticed the insect-like being just walk into his room through the circle.
Through a portal?
Basically. So after this mantis creature entered the room, another figure followed, which was Crescent, and after her, 2 small grays. It's a fucking orgy at this point.
Hell yeah.
David was David, however, was more focused on Crescent, and as he looked at her, he felt a pleasant energy. He was still in bed, just standing there, or not even standing, laying there staring at her. She leaned in close to David's face and began to rub her forehead on his.
What?
Apparently, he equates this to the alien equivalent to kissing.
Oh. They have mouths, though. He's like kissing her mouth. He's like, I love you. And she's like, we shit out of these. Ah! Ah! No.
So, yeah, they're basically, they just sit there and they just.
Go to the line of that. Keep going. Great. That's awesome.
And I mean, David is just vibing with it. And then after they stopped rubbing heads, they began their familiar nocturnal interaction. David was, in his own words, falling in love, very deeply in love with Crescent. So there's that. David had also taken notice that whenever these encounters occurred, his body was in a kind of paralysis. So any sort of movement was just not gonna happen. As As they had their encounter, David noted some differences, such as this time Crescent laid closer on top of David's body and began to make a, quote, very soft melodic sound like the purring of a cat.
Are you hard yet?
I don't understand what's happening. So as David, they finish up their encounter, and as David watched Crescent walk from the bed, he soon remembered that during this time they were not alone, as the mantis was still in the corner.
You think he brought snacks and shit?
Did you forget about the mantis? I didn't.
I didn't either. No, it just seemed like in the corner, like, and just like eating. He was like, "Nice." Are you guys having fun over there? I'm having fun over here. You ever watch Netflix? You ever heard of that yet? Oh yeah, it's in the future. I forget. I'm from the future.
So this creature, this mantis, had not moved since he arrived to his room, and David began to stand up and began to look over at the circular doorway that had opened up in his room. As David approached the opening, Crescent could see he was curious and said, "If you would like to go ahead." David did not hesitate and proceeded to enter the opening. As David entered the room, it was exceptionally bright and white, and similar to those he'd been in on other trips as a boy. As he turned, he could see the doorway was still open, and that he could see his bedroom from the doorway. Crescent and the mantid came shortly after David, and as David looked around, he saw the hairy guy, which, do you remember the hairy guy?
I do remember the hairy guy. He's just chilling on the couch or what?
He's just covered in orange hair.
I gathered that much, but what is he doing? He's
just in the room.
Just like, hey.
Did you have fun?
Hey, Dave. God, oh.
I didn't join this time, but are you okay if I come in next time?
This story's so fucking stupid.
So fucking weird.
It's so weird.
There was also a smaller gray that was in the room. Once everybody was on the other side, the doorway began to close up, closing off David's access to the room for the time being. David walked over to a huge window that he could tell he was now in space, and he could see the Earth floating far off in the distance. So this is basically a portal.
Mm-hmm.
David was obviously extremely confused at what was happening. So he, hangs out for a little bit, and then they send him back through the portal back to his room. And after a few weeks, so the beings did not visit him for several weeks after this, after he teleports onto their ship and then comes back. And then after several weeks, they return.
Great.
They don't stop.
We got lost. We ended up in a place known as Ohio?
Question mark?
I think. Or Iowa? I don't know. Wasn't a lot happening. But we stayed.
There's no replacement for you, though, David. Don't worry.
Yeah. No dick will be as good as yours, David. Especially not ones in Ohio.
I like that you went to the medic.
Yeah.
So one of the most interesting, and thank you, River, in a way, foreshadowing experiences during this time was the dreamlike state that David had. In this quote-unquote dream, he saw what had appeared to be a naturally made cave system that seemed to be from Earth, which had several UFOs going in and out of it. David got the impression that this was an underground facility for these entities. David would call this area the parking lot. And it would seem to get and he would get the chance to like see inside this complex. The parking lot. Of course, yes, that's obviously what you call that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the parking lot's so funny. Be like, yeah, it's like a it's like a truck stop, It's like a Love's in space.
I was gonna say it's in Earth. It's a naturally made cave system where they're coming in and out.
Oh, okay. Is it still sponsored by Love's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Love's in there.
There's just a gray wearing like fucking he's just wearing like a straw hat, and just like very blue collar, and he's just like filling a spaceship full of like diesel. Just like, so I got a big ass header on this thing. I did it like this. I did the parsec run I did that run in like 2 parsecs. It was crazy. You should have seen it. It's like, oh shit, brother, that's wild.
David, we're gonna jump to his 48th encounter, which happened in 1967. This is probably one of the most important encounters, right? So David noticed that the circular doorway that he had seen before began to open up on the wall. As he turned to look at it, he could see Crescent standing in an unfamiliar place, but he was less focused on her surroundings and more on her. He could tell from her face that she was deeply distressed. She wasted no time in telling him what was wrong, and just blurted out, "David, the baby's dying."
Okay.
So
here's an idea. Don't let it die. Have they considered that as an option?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they have. David was pretty fucking confused. He didn't know what the fuck was going on. He's like, "What baby?" And Crescent was like, "Your baby, but it's dying."
All right, that's a lot of information to take in all at once. David, you're having a kid, but it's gonna die.
You already have a kid. It's here.
But it's gonna die.
Yeah. Dude, listen.
Huh?
There's a lot going on in this story, but can you imagine an alien that you've been having relations with coming through the portal and be like, "Your fucking baby's dying"?
Jesus.
And you have like no idea what's going on.
I have a baby?
Yeah.
It's mine?
Yeah. It's dying though.
Here's your son. Here's your son, David Jr. It's like, it's just like this horrific monster. Like, this is your son. Like, it's like, oh my God. All of these species, all juvenile species of our kind look like that.
So
it's just this horrific humanoid monster. Don't worry, he still bites.
So David is very clearly like confused, but he finds some internal paternal instinct and says, "Show me my baby." Crescent instantly refused, and David became very angry and repeated himself 3 times, raising his voice each time she refused. So he did this 3 times until she finally caved and went over to a container-like object and opened it. From this cylindrical tank, she withdrew a small infant that looked very gray-like in the face with pale skin. She held the baby outward towards David for him to see, and the child simply dangled. David instantly was distressed as to how she was holding the child and stated, No. Hold the baby like this. Cradle the baby in your arms. Listen, I've got to come there." Crescent was like, "No, you're not allowed." And David is obviously increasingly upset about this. As David like says my baby's dying. Why can't I come there? Watch this. David proceeded to lay down on the bed and proceeds to instantly pass out. Upon doing so, David is instantly in the place where Crescent is. Which is a whole lot to say.
What, the moment he immediately passes out, it's just like, I'm here, bitch.
He literally was like, oh, I can't come see my child? Fuck it, watch this.
Just immediately like, oh, you're not gonna let me see my kid, Crescent? All right, check this shit out. And then just like,
there he is.
He's like, you're such a bitch, you know? Is there like a family court in space, you know?
I don't know.
Crescent, you bitch, let me see my kid. He's like, fuck you. Fuck you, David.
So
I should have never banged you 70 times in that field. Oh my god, that's so funny.
So David looked around. He noticed that this was not the spaceship he was so familiar with, but a cavernous place. David, looking around, however, noted many of the same entities he had witnessed on the ship, and in his room, as there were a number of greys, the hairy guy, several insect-like beings, and several nude big women, who he could tell were hybrids like Crescent.
Okay.
One of the insect beings approached him and seemed very angry. It was like, what are you doing here? David replied quickly that his baby was dying and he had to see and hold him. The insect-like being refused, and David kept on insisting that he had to see him. And this continued for some time until David broke down crying, got on his knees, and begged the entity. At this point, the insect being was surprised by this reaction and agreed to let him hold the baby.
Yeah.
So David looked over and saw Crescent nearby, still holding the baby, and he walked over and he noted that it was like looking through a white screen, and as he leaned forward towards Crescent and the baby, the screen cleared, and upon seeing the child, he was for some reason disturbed and proceeded to lean back, upon which the screen returned. I don't really know what's going on there.
How did I call it out that the baby's a horrific monster?
I don't know.
He's disturbed, dude. You know, he straight up like, he saw that baby and he was like, oh, wow. You know, just disturbed. It's a dumb joke. Don't laugh at it. So don't laugh at it. So there's some sort of like weird foreboding around this child.
Yeah.
He's the ancient one.
He gets over whatever he was feeling, and returned through the spectral screen to Crescent and the baby. David looked down at his child for a moment and reached down to touch him, and some kind of electric energy came out from his fingertips, and the baby began to move and come back to life. Pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
So he's like, did you see that? Did you see that shit? Let me do it again. And touch the baby again. And then he was surrounded by several of the other alien species, all of which were both excited and surprised that a mere touch could generate such a reaction. So after this, the insect-like being came forward and said to David, "Come with me." And he took David to a room that was filled with a couple of hundred small containers. These containers made up almost the entirety of the room, with two exceptions. The first was a large machine that emanated a humming sound, and near a plain wall with a symbol that was similar to the letter T. The insect-like being called this room an incubator room. And he peered when he peered around, he could see that each container had a small gray baby. David, in complete shock, looks over to the entity and asks, "Oh my God, whose babies are these?"
Oh my God, whose babies are these? That's so funny.
The mantid said nothing, pointed at David.
What? Whoa! No way. Dude. All of this is your literally all of it.
David,
That's crazy.
David's first reaction, he was in shock.
Mm-hmm.
His first words were, "How am I going to send all these kids to college?"
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, David. That's so cute.
I don't think he's got to worry about sending them to college.
Oh, my God. How expensive is Space Harvard? No, that's
Are they
so...
going to need braces?
Oh, my God. That's so fucking cute. I hate that. Even though this dude was getting, like, basically molested by aliens. And he's just like... I think he was kind of in love. So, I mean, I don't know.
He was absolutely in love with Crescent. He says it himself.
Okay, so at first he was definitely getting groomed, but you know, it is surprisingly cute when he was like, "How am I gonna afford space college?" That's so cute.
I just thought that was like the best like reaction when I read that. Just, oh my God, how am I gonna send all these kids to college?
Oh my God, and they're like, "What the fuck is college?" I'm like, we don't do that. In fact, they'll have more knowledge than you will ever have. Like, literally ever. And it's like, but space college? What if one wants to go to a trade school? Like, fuck. And he's like, oh, God.
College is free here, dude.
I have like 100+ kids. I can name all of them. Fuck.
I don't think I know that many names.
There's 26 letters. There's 52 letters in the gray alphabet. I think I can figure it out.
So,
Math.
the mantid then took him over to the containers and allowed David to touch every single one of the children. And just as with the other child, an electric spark shot from his little fingertips, which seemed to help the babies. After David was done, he was extremely tired and weak, as if his energy was drained, and then he woke up in bed the next morning feeling terrible. So he proceeded to stay in bed all day, but late that night, he was awakened by the insect-like being. The entity, managing to get David out of bed, marched him to a place that had an opening like a door that was encompassed in light. This light was exceptionally bright, and David would say it was quote-unquote pure. And David was told by the mantid to enter the room. In the beginning, David did not want to go in the room, but the entity insisted that David had to go in the room, and he had no choice. So David slowly and cautiously walked into the illuminated room. The entity had David stay in the room for a few minutes before telling him to come out and walking him back to bed. The reason for this strange visitation would be revealed the following morning when David woke up. That morning, David felt extremely healthy and energetic, and this feeling lasted for several weeks afterwards. So he gave all his energy to these children, and it was like, I'm just gonna go to bed. And the fucking mantid alien is like, "You're gonna fucking get in there,
get in the fucking bed."
and
then
he felt better.
He felt better.
So that's good.
Yeah.
A month had passed after this last encounter, and David had moved to a new apartment. And during the first couple months, David had no visitations or bizarre interactions. But then, and this is fucking creepy. He was listening to the radio intermittent between the regularly scheduled programs. David heard a voice saying, "We know where you are."
Oh my God.
That gives me goosebumps. That's so fucking spooky.
We know where you are.
Can you imagine? You're just listening to the radio and you're like, "We know where you are."
Yeah, just listen to the Grease soundtrack, you know? Just
like,
I'm alone, I'm having a blast. And she's like, oh, I like this song.
We know where you are, David.
Just like just stick your fucking car in it,
like that's
on the
so
sidewalk.
spooky.
We know where you are, David. Stop at that Taco Bell and order 50 bean burritos.
So
And then go to bed.
David was very confused, but just then settled that this was part of the program. David, hate to break it to you, buddy, that's not how this works.
Oh.
David then felt an overbearing sadness come over him. And then immediately after, the same voice returned saying, everything is fine. It's all right. David, in a almost trance-like state, began to remove his clothes and lay down on the bed.
That it's like, I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but when I hear a voice saying,
everything is fine, it will be all right.
Like, I don't believe you. Okay? Like, just hear like alarm bells going off in the background, like, wee, wee, wee. And he's just like, everything is fine, just go to bed, take your fucking clothes off, go to bed.
So David is laying on his bed.
Yeah.
And then he jumped up and began to shout, no, 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 over and over again, as if in response to the spectral voice he had heard. And then the voice simply replied back with the same message from earlier, everything is fine, it's all right. Yet David, for whatever reason, felt that they were lying and everything was not all right.
Wow. No shit. Yeah.
It was at this moment David suddenly realized he was no longer at his house and instead was in the same cavernous lair that he had been to some months prior. He seemingly arrived there on his own, and the beings were incredibly surprised by this and his tidal wave of emotions that were happening. It was at that moment that two colossal and nude hybrid women came over and attempted to restrain David, holding him down as he continued to cry and say, no, no, no. David had a sudden realization as to what was making him upset during one of his encounters. David had realized what made him upset, and he had felt that he had dropped one of the children, and in doing so had killed the child. So David is having a full breakdown. He's just crying, saying the baby died, it's all my fault. And then Crescent shows up and it is like, what's the matter? What are you doing? Why are you crying?
I couldn't sit all my fucking kids are dead. It's all my fucking fault. And she's like, stop being such a pussy about this. See, even the dog agrees.
No, you come here. Oh, big stretch.
Not the dog.
Come here. Here, you.
Yeah.
So she is slowly making her way around. Did you want to get up here?
See if the dog wants to hang out with us on set.
So, David replies, my baby died. I was holding it and then I got scared and I dropped it. It's all my fault. It's all my fault. Crescent looked concerned at David and then said, David, the baby didn't die. See, here's your baby.
Here's your baby.
As David looked to Crescent where she had indicated, come here, get up here. Come here. Oh, good. Oh, there we go. He immediately lays down. So she's like, your baby's fine. He didn't die. You didn't do nothing. See? There he is.
See, look, your baby is fine. It's right here. Look it.
Your baby's fine.
See?
Hi. Baby's fine.
Yeah.
EB. Hi. So all the guilt and sadness left him. So he he felt better. And then he realized, like, all the other beings around him were greatly distressed by his initial reaction and surprised at the sudden change. David had felt that these beings were not familiar with such deep emotions, and that noted when he was initially sobbing, these beings became scared and sad for him as well, but they were not used to such feelings. So, yeah. So David apologized to the beings, and in turn, the two of them looked to the large hybrid beings, or two of the large hybrid women went over to the mantid and said, "Can David stay?" Like they're asking for a sleepover.
Do you think, Chris? Do you think maybe your boyfriend, who's kind of not your boyfriend, but he's also kind of your boyfriend? You think that maybe he could stay here
Do you
for the
think
night?
your baby dad could stay?
You think your baby dad can stay the night? You think, would that be okay? Please. So lonely.
The mantid was like, "No, David has to go back."
Oh.
It was pretty much like that. So they then have another encounter before he leaves, a sexual one, with the two hybrid women.
David, you fucking dog. You know? Come on, dude.
I mean, listen. It's a whole thing, but basically they're like, "Can we be romantic?"
Do you think that maybe we could, I don't know, rub foreheads together?
And then David was like, Can we have a bit of privacy?"
That's so funny.
Upon finishing the interaction, David lay between the two women and looked up at the roof of the underground complex, and he noticed an exceptionally bright yellow light. He was just kind of staring at the light, and then he passed out and woke up in his bed and heard the same voice from last night, this time saying the baby's fine, the baby is all right. Basically just trying to calm him down. That was his 63rd encounter.
Holy shit.
The 63rd encounter, he has a breakdown. Is told, "Relax."
Yeah.
And then gets with two alien women.
Oh, you know.
Two tall hybrid alien women.
You meant mental breakdown.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping he was like, he had a breakdown. He's pulls out the guitar and he's like, dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Not quite.
No, not like a cool breakdown, but like a sad one from getting abducted by aliens multiple times and then banging them.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's a whole lot. He basically sees them again. He sees them again, and then the aliens explain that they want him to have another encounter with one of the hybrid women. And he says, "Since you're yanking my chain, I might as well."
So is she, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, buddy, you know? Nah, dude, that's fucking... that's insane.
He's like, "Well, I mean, if you're asking."
The mantis wants to see you bang that alien hybrid woman again. Per his request. Definitely not mine. Also mine. So I'm guessing he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. There's so much. We have so much left, but I'm gonna just skip forward a little bit.
Okay.
Another encounter David would have a short time later. It involves a meeting with a gray alien in his home. The being approached David and handed him a bright blue book, which David opened up. The pages of this book were incredibly bright and luminous, but appeared to be completely blank. Yet, as he continued to stare at the pages, he noticed the book was slowly beginning to reveal symbols, images, and diagrams. The following day, David forgot almost everything that was in the book, except with one peculiar page, which was a bright gold circle with a gold cross in it.
Sorry. They gave a gold. They gave him a gold cross.
No, he was looking at a book. And he doesn't remember anything about the book anymore, except for a circle with a cross in it.
Tell me these fucking aliens are Catholic.
Maybe.
Is that why they're having so many kids?
Dude.
Yes.
He has a lot of kids.
Yeah, I've gathered that much.
I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'd seen a number at some point, but I don't think it's in here. He had like 147 kids or something like that.
Wow.
How's he gonna afford college?
How am I gonna afford college? That's so funny.
Don't, like, braces also.
No.
What's he gonna do with all these kids?
What if one of them comes out like and they're all, they can need like braces and glasses or whatever? Then we throw them out the airlock. It's that easy, David. Don't even think about it. Just whoop, and then there's gone. It's that fast.
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, he just continues to have encounter after encounter with all these aliens. This just is a lot. I mean, the encounters just kind of went on, for a long time. Up until the early 1970s, when Crescent went and dropped some news. Crescent told David that she and the others were going to leave him alone for a time, but that they would be back on August 17th of 1987. So this is in the early 1970s. So they're like, we're going to leave you alone for about 17 years, give or take.
Okay.
They said, bye, bitch.
We'll be back when they're basically 21, when they're basically 18, and then we'll just give them all to you.
No thanks. That's a lot of kids all at once. Until that point, he would forget all of their encounters and everything he knew and saw during his visitations, and just like that, they were gone. David finishes his schooling and proceeded to go about life as a normal person. Even the beings allowed him to find his now ex-wife, Janice, and while she knew there was something about him, she couldn't put her finger on it.
Huh. Was he ever abducted by aliens and then fucked them so much he had 147 kids? No, I don't think so. No, yeah.
No. I mean, they ended up having their own son named Michael, who he did have to actually worry about college with. Over the years, David had a vague memory of the importance of the date Crescent had told him, but he couldn't remember why it was so important. Then in 1987, David had a clearer memory when a few months from the date he was listening to the radio, and they were talking about the Mayan calendar and a harmonic convergence. And while he paid no interest to such things, when the radio show mentioned the date, his ears perked up and felt that it was something extremely important. This went on for a while until August 17th of 1987 came. That night, David had a dream of a strange object descending from the sky and landing. From this object, a woman began to exit and started to walk towards him, and he couldn't place her. He knew the woman, but couldn't tell who she was. But in the time following, he knew Crescent returned.
And guess who's back? Back again. Crescent's back. Don't tell anyone ever. Yeah, that's awesome. Spirit just...
He's tired. Yeah, so he just kind of remembered like little odd moments that he couldn't piece together. And just kind of felt that something was wrong or missing from his life. Which honestly, when you have alien encounters all the way up until the 70s, kind of makes sense.
Yeah, get majority of your life and then all of a sudden they just stop, you know?
Yeah. So, I get it. I get why he was kind of struggling.
Shit's exciting, dude. It's awesome. Like, yeah, I get it, brother.
Have you had relations with aliens?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm pretty sure I've been abducted by aliens. We've talked about it.
We have.
We have. I'm pretty sure I've been abducted. I don't think I was, banging aliens. I hope not. You know?
I've given you some stuff to think about.
So fucking hot. Nah.
So
She's
just having a time. Hi, you're melty. You're so melty. You need melting. I wish I could just give you all the face rubs, but I have to scroll sometimes. So David ended up finding out about ufologist Bud Hopkins and felt a compulsion to buy the book Intruders. And he got to the chapter 7 of the book, which was Other Women, Other Men, and he began to shake as he read and said, "Oh my God, this is the woman I never told anyone about." As he continued to read, the floodgates of his memories were lifted and his memory returned, and he just couldn't stop reading the book. "Ma'am, you are hanging out up here. You do not need to leave." And then Crescent returned, and he had more relations with Crescent. So the tall entity he had seen previously said, "Let David do paintings." After this, it took him about 3 weeks before he felt comfortable enough to even start one. And then he just started painting. He painted so many paintings. Aren't they your favorite?
There's certainly something. I think I posted some on the YouTubes and the Instagrams. I think I did.
There's a lot of them.
I guess I didn't, but I'll put. I can't remember if I did on the YouTube video or not. But I'll post more for this episode. You guys can go look at some of them because some of them are fucking wild.
Yeah.
But they're certainly interesting.
Even after he was painting, the encounters never stopped. I mean, he had a lot of encounters. And when David was 60, he found himself in a bizarre place that looked like the interior of one of the crafts. David was taken to a room where he noticed a man lying naked on the bed.
Hey.
As David got closer, he recognized the person laying there. It was an exact copy of his younger self. Was he the mantid alien watching?
Oh my God. No, he wasn't. But you know, it's it's like 140 versions of him just running around. Or did they have them all grow up to be like 18 years old now? Now they're like, "Fight to the death, there shall be only one."
I don't think they did that.
Who knows? Maybe.
Who knows, I guess. Yeah, so the body was motionless and was in no way a sense of the word alive. And while David was staring down at himself, one of the entities asked him, "Can we use your body, David?" David said yes. And then as he did so, he noticed that the replica of himself began to twitch and move as if it were slowly coming alive. And then Yeah, basically, he assumes that they transferred some of his energy over into the body. Yeah. It's fucking...
There's a lot to process.
There's a lot to
So I have a
process.
dog now.
Hi, honey. Hello.
At Spirit the Turv.
It's her. She's here. She's alive.
Yeah.
For a short period of time until she
now.
falls asleep.
For now.
CEB. She's gonna fall asleep in your lap. Oh, baby.
So tired.
Are you so cozy with your dad? Thank you. Great. So it's so weird. I mean, he painted like 150 paintings of his abductions and lived a relatively simple life. David would go to abductee meetings and support groups, and he even has like a conversation with Bud Hopkins. David showed him a painting of the doorway that had opened up in his room. Bud was like, "What's that? A mirror?" Yeah, it's so weird that he has a meeting like with this famous ufologist, and he's like, "Look at this," and the guy's like, "Is that a fucking mirror? What the fuck is that?" David explained what it was, and he said nothing in response. Seemed to imply to David that he either didn't believe him or knew that there was something more to this than he knew. Yeah, he released a book. He had some art exhibits. And then in 2017, Curator Pictures released a documentary that David agreed to do called Love and Saucers.
Which everyone should go watch Love and Saucers immediately.
Exactly. That's kind of it. We've kind of talked about a lot of wild shit.
Yeah.
2 episodes.
A lot of alien banging.
Yeah, that happens.
And I put a poll up on the Instagram. Go check it out. Go see what our next episode should be about. I got some ideas. But got some fun ones. What a wild story, Tay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was very fun.
I know things. I find good stories sometimes.
Look at the fucking Spirit,
What do
dude.
you think? Was that a good story? Hi.
Well, thank you so much for joining us in this week's episode of Haunts, Graves, and Omens. If you had fun, like, share, subscribe, share us on, share us everywhere. I've said this before, but I'll say it again as a reminder. If you want to cut content from any of these shows, please do. Just make sure to tag us, okay? That's all I really ask for. I don't care if you fucking monetize it or whatever, as long as you got our name attached and everything. That'd be greatly appreciated. And if you want to send us hate mail, you can at HGOPodcast@gmail.com, or just episode ideas, or whatever you think is funny. Where's she going? And you can follow us on Facebook at Haunts, Graves, and Omens. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at HGOPodcast. I'm going to be cutting some clips together tomorrow or tonight. It's going to depend on how things go, but things are getting cut tonight. And
That's fun. That's cool.
it's very fun and cool. So there'll be new clips out. Want to follow me on Instagram? You can at IHuntTheHaunted. Oh my goodness. Hi.
She's standing on.
You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at IHuntTheHaunted. Pass it over to Tay.
Hi. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Lunar Thrill. It's down there. You can also follow our dog.
Yeah.
Not in
Here,
the
let me get out of the mannequin. Let me slide this over.
Hey.
This way. Look at.
You can follow our dog at Spirit the Turv on Instagram.
She's just like.
She's so tired. She's ready for a nap. Not like she's been napping this entire time. But yeah, you can follow her there. You can follow me there, and then Yeah, that's about all I got. I don't do a whole lot.
Yeah, and if you're in the greater Portland area and you want to, you're interested in kind of a position of helping us with a podcast, let me know. You can reach out via email or on Instagram to me. Yeah.
You can reach out to me, but there's a guarantee I won't see it for a couple days at least.
That's correct. But until then, remember to stay spooky.
Stay haunted.
Bang multiple aliens and have 147 children. And then have a breakdown.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.